Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Day and I'm the Key Stage 3 Progress Leader at Prince Henry's Grammar School. It's my job to make sure that I guide all Year 6 students through the transition process from primary school to secondary school. Clearly this year is a little different from normal years. The normal face-to-face contact that we would have either at primary school and also into 3 days at the secondary school simply can't happen this year. So instead what we're hoping to do is replicate those different processes, different steps in the transition process online, in primary school or at home to make sure that you can feel confident about what secondary school is going to be like. So we're going to start today with this presentation. This presentation is what I normally give to all students in their primary school setting around this time of year when we come to visit you. It's the first step in welcoming you to Prince Henry's, in getting to know a little bit about you, but also in letting you know exactly what secondary school is going to be like. I normally start this presentation off by asking for a show of hands. First of all, I ask who's nervous about going to secondary school. Most people put their hands up because they're a little bit unsure about things. And I also ask who's excited. And again, most people put their hands up. And it is perfectly natural and perfectly understandable at this moment in time to feel that mix of emotions. To have some things that you're really, really excited about, to have some things that you're not so sure about. So that's why we do this transition process. That's why this is the first step in all of these different activities, because we want to put your minds at rest. We want to reassure you about what you can expect at Prince Henry's. We want to answer those questions. Now, I know there are lots and lots of questions out there, and you're going to get a chance and an opportunity at the end of this presentation to pull those questions together and send them in to us, and then we'll respond with the answers. Because I know there will be lots of questions. And at this moment in time, I always like to say there's no such thing as a silly question about what secondary school is going to be like. You haven't experienced it. You might have heard about it a little bit, but you haven't experienced it, so it's perfectly natural to wonder, how do lunchtimes work? What do I do in lessons? How do I get rewards? What do I do if I want to be in one of the sports teams or the drama production? All those different things we'll try to answer over the course of the next few weeks during this transition process. But we do want to welcome you all to Prince Henry's. We hope you are looking forward to what secondary school is going to be like. And we hope that you're really looking forward to this induction process. Because what I will show you during the course of this presentation and beyond is that if you take the opportunities that Prince Henry's can offer you, I promise you'll have a really positive experience. Now, Year 7 is all about induction. To induct students basically means to get you used to the routines. Now, the good news is that most of the routines will be the ones that you're very familiar with. I know that your Year 6 teachers spend a lot of time getting you ready for secondary school and the challenges and the different things you might have to do. But obviously, the first thing that's most clear is that it's a huge, huge change in size of school site. So we need to get used to moving around the school building a lot more. We need to get used to the different lessons. You'll be doing 13 subjects in Year 7 across the course of the year, and that's a whole host of different subjects that you might not have studied, equipment you might not have used before. One of the things we do want to focus on is ensuring that you meet our behaviour expectations. Now, we know that we can make those really clear when we put together all sorts of information about what happens, how you can get rewards, how you can make the step up those by continuing to do really good things, but also on the other side of it, what happens if you don't do things right? What are the sanctions that are applied and when? And we make sure that those are clear to you so that the expectations are very clear, very fair, and the same for everyone. And we want you to get used to those throughout Year 7 so that they will help you become really positive, excellent learners throughout your time at Prince Henry's. We also want to encourage you to become independent learners. It's just a part of being more mature and your approach being ready for secondary school and the different challenges that you will face there. We want you to take responsibility for your home learning. We want you to make sure that you are sorting yourself out in terms of organisation. We want you to push yourself to achieve your very, very best. And in doing those things and starting that process in Year 7, we promise that you will be set up to be excellent learners throughout your time at Prince Henry's. There are a really clear set of behaviours that we want our students to have, whether that's in their science lessons, their PE lessons, their technology lessons, or their language lessons. And if you can replicate those and you can push yourself to do your very best, we promise you will succeed. We also want to ensure that we have a sense of community. Now that starts with your form group. You'll be in one of 9 forms in Year 7 with the form tutor. I'll go on to that a little bit more later. It also includes that you as a year group will do year group activities, raising funds for local charities and making sure that we can do positive things. Because if we buy into that ethos as a form group, as a year group, as a whole school, we will make our local community a better place. And as we become more mature, we can have that influence on the local community around us. And the last thing on that slide is to take responsibility for your actions. Now again, at this point, I normally ask someone to tell me what that means. And the answer is always, well, owning up if you've done something wrong. But it isn't just about that, it's about the positive side of things as well. We want you to take a pride in what you do. We want you to take a pride in the uniform you wear and the fact that you go to Prince Henry's Grammar School. But we do as well want you to say if you've got things wrong, want you to say if you're struggling, because we can support you to get over those challenges if you are willing to face up to them far more quickly. So Year 7 allows us to induct you into those processes. We're not saying you'll all get it straight away and it'll be an easy transition right from the very start for everyone. That's why we have this process. That's why we have a year where we look at making sure you understand what we expect of you. So the whole of that year will be set up for that, to make sure you can meet our expectations. Another thing that you'll notice really quickly about the secondary school is that there's an awful lot more staff. There are nearly 1,650 students across the whole of the school and almost 200 staff. So clearly there are different structures, different expectations around what we need to be to make sure we run efficiently. At the top of the pile is our head teacher, Miss Sheriff. You in Year 7 are fortunate in that she's also the link senior teacher to Year 7. So she'll be someone you'll get to see quite a bit. She'll be into our assemblies. She'll be giving you additional rewards when you reach certain levels of rewards. She'll be making sure you get the certificates to acknowledge when you get a number of stamps as well. We have 2 associate head teachers, Mr. Robottom and Mrs. Nelson, who you will get to meet very early, a team of assistant head teachers, and then there's me, a progress leader. So in each key stage, there is a progress leader. Myself in Key Stage 3, Mr. Knight in Key Stage 4, and Mrs. Willis in Key Stage 5. We are supported by year managers for each year group, and each form has a form tutor. Now that structure allows us to support students at the right level at the right time. Because clearly, it's not likely that you'll be able to go see Mrs. Sheriff if there's a concern for you about your home learning. She's got to make sure she's running the whole school. So you'll need to know who to approach. And I'm going to sort of explain who I think are the 3 most significant people for you to get to know right from the very start. I'll start with myself. My job is Key Stage 3 Progress Leader. That means that I'm in charge of all of the students across Key Stage 3, nearly 900 students. I monitor their behaviour and their progress through a variety of different means, whether that's checking in on you in lessons, watching you around the school site, whether it's looking at your planner to see when you're getting rewards and you're getting sanctions, monitoring all those different types of things, and the progress reports that come out 3 times each year. I need to make sure that the students are getting the right level of support to make sure they make the best progress they possibly can. I also need to make sure that our reward sanction system in school is working well to support that. So you feel encouraged to do the right thing, to get the rewards that you deserve for your good efforts. Now to do that across 3 year groups is quite a task because, as I said, there are 900 students. So actually someone who you will see probably an awful lot more than me is Mrs. McQuire. She's your Year 7 year manager. Now Mrs. McQuire is a non-teacher, which means that she's not actually in the classroom unless she's coming to visit you and see what you're up to. It means that she's in the Key Stage 3 office throughout the school day, so you can approach her if you've got any issues or concerns. Now those issues and concerns can take on a whole host of different things. It might be that you're struggling with home learning, and she'll be able to point you in the right direction. It might be that you're finding organisation a challenge, and again she'll be able to give you some ideas or some tips on how to come up with the solution to those different types of things. It might be that you're struggling with friendship groups. Again, that's something that Mrs. McQuire and the Key Stage 3 team will be able to support you in. It might be even that you're worried about things to do with your own well-being or people at home. Again, we want to know so that we can support you in the right way. There is no worry too small at this point to take to your year manager, because they want to be able to support you so those worries and issues don't have an impact on your school life and don't have an impact on how you are doing in terms of your progress. So Mrs. McGuire is someone you need to get to know well and need to know exactly where she is. Also, you'll have a form tutor. Now, year 7 will be divided into 9 different forms. You will see your form tutor every morning for 20 minutes and every afternoon for 10 minutes. They will be your first point of contact for any issues. They're experienced teachers who will be able to point you in the right direction, whether if you've got an issue with your planner, or you're not getting things organised quite quickly enough, or you're a bit worried about things. Always make sure you approach them. They'll be able to point you in the right direction or come up with the right level of support to make sure you can do as well as you possibly can. They will be really excited about meeting you in September, because they'll want to make sure they form you into a form that is really positive, works well together, and takes on their ethos about doing the very best you can at all times. Now, again, I'd normally ask here at this point if any of you got any brothers or sisters or friends or cousins or whoever who come to Prince Henry's, and I'd ask you if they tell you that we're strict, and I think they probably would. Now, I don't think that's a real problem, to be honest. We do, as a school, have really high expectations of our students, but we make sure that those high expectations, if they're met, are rewarded. We want you to take pride in the student you are and the school that you represent. And we want to make sure that you meet those high expectations, because we know if you do, your progress will be good, and ultimately you'll go on to achieve really fantastic things. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to ask either your parents or your teachers that you're with today to play a little video all about the opportunities you get at Prince Henry's. And that video ends up with the students collecting their GCSE and A-level rewards and their certificates at the end of the summer term that they have completed their exams. Now, that always makes me smile, because I see students that I've known from year 7 who've worked their socks off throughout the years to make sure they get excellent exam results. And that's the end product of their time at school. However, there's so much more to their time at school, whether it's taking part in different activities, doing really well in different types of lessons, making friends, and making those sort of relationships that last a lifetime. We promise you, if you meet those high expectations and you take on responsibility, there are almost a limitless amount of opportunities at Prince Henry's that you can make the most of. Now, I'm going to get on to some more practical things now and introduce you into some things that will really help in your time at Prince Henry's. The first one is the planner. Now, you'll all get a planner on your first day in September. In there are a whole host of different details about rules, expectations, everything like that. But I'm not going to focus on that now. On that first day in September, your form tutor will run you through all those different things, introduce you to those different ideas then. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on how your planner will help you become really organised and help you deal with some of those challenges that students are always worried about secondary school. Using your planner well will help you become really well organised. One of the main things you'll use it for is recording your home learning. There's also space in there for your timetable. There's also space in there to help you find your way around. A map, which obviously is really essential in the big school site, getting used to what's going on in all different areas of the school. But we're going to concentrate on home learning now. Now, I'll start with the good news, first of all. The good news is that in year 7, you'll get the least amount of home learning that any of the year groups will get. We want you to sort of get used to home learning and how it's done across a whole week. So we like to give you what we like to phrase as a soft acclimatization to that new way of working. So you'll get 1 or 2 pieces of home learning a night. They shouldn't take any more than 40 minutes each. And it's really important you organise your time well. And your planner will help you do that. If you follow the cursor on screen, you can see, if you look down the left-hand column here, there's a space for you to write the subject in. In the middle, there's space for detail, and then there's a hand-in section here. So let's say you've got Me for History. You have Me for History on a Monday. I set your home learning. You're writing history there, you're writing what the home learning is here, and you're writing that's due on Friday. Now, the key to doing well with home learning is to get into a good routine. Now, as it's due on Friday, some people might think, well, I'll leave it till Thursday. That, unfortunately, is a mistake which will lead to you making errors which will ultimately lead to sanctions. What I want you to do is get into a good routine. So if you set home learning on Monday, complete it on the Monday night. That way it's done, it's out of the way. It's probably easier to do because the work is fresh on your mind and you can remember things. And also, if it is a struggle, if you do find it hard, it gives you a whole host of other days that you can approach your teacher, you can go to home learning club, you can ask your friends or other classmates about a little bit of support because you found it quite difficult. The issue is if you leave it till the very last minute and try and complete it then, you probably won't do a good job, and that is when ultimately staff will end up giving out sanctions for those things. Really, what we want to be able to do is to give lots and lots of rewards, and those rewards are recorded here by a stamp from your subject teacher. There's lots of space there. There's much less space down here for sanctions. There's space for 5 sanctions in a week. Most Year 7 students average about 50 stamps a week and 1 or no comments a week. The reason I'm telling you that is so many students get so concerned and anxious and worried about getting in trouble. But again, I go back to what I said much earlier. We make it really clear what you need to do to get rewards and what you need to do to get sanctions. And students, by knowing what those boundaries are, make sure they meet our expectations. So I can give you up to six stamps in each lesson. Might be for contribution to work, it might be for excellent work. There could be a whole host of different things. But you can get rewards for all those different things in all sorts of different ways. I know at this moment in time, even though the school's been finished for a little while, one Year 7 student had over 2,000 stamps by the end of March and had no comments. About 75 students have got no comments in Year 7 at this moment in time, which I think is fabulous. And it is really important that you focus in on the positives. As we move on now to the positive discipline system, the PD system, you'll see here there is a whole host of different awards that you can collect across the year. And ultimately, those lead to bigger and better rewards as you make your way through the year group. There are also very clear steps if you do things wrong. Now, rather than focusing on the more serious sanctions as we move up that pyramid, which hardly any Year 7s ever find themselves facing, let's focus on the very first one. Phase 1 of the sanction pyramid is verbal warning. Now, that's why I know our system is fair. If you get something a little bit wrong, if you don't have the right equipment, if you're talking in class, you will get a verbal warning in the first instance. Then if you don't do it again, you won't get any further sanction. There won't be a sanction recorded in your planner. There won't be an additional sanction in the form of a detention or anything like that. We're not expecting perfection. We do know that from time to time we will need to point you in the right direction. So that's why that verbal warning system works and works really well. So I do hope that you can see that we do try to be really fair. In your planner as well, what you will also see is there is a whole host of different lists of things that if you do it wrong, do that certain action, which is it comes with a sanction attached, what the sanction will be. So it's not like we make things up on the spot. We don't apply it to different people in different ways. If you do a certain behaviour wrong, you will face a very clear sanction. That fairness, I think, is key in making sure that all 1,600 students feel like they are all being treated fairly and the same. And that's something we pride ourselves on. Now, as it says on screen, the induction day will be in September 2020. It'll be our first day in school, but we will spend a lot of time in those first few months getting used to the different routines, getting you to meet your form and your form tutor. On that very first day, you'll be divided into your forms. You'll meet your form tutor. You'll spend the whole day with them, getting to know some of the school routines. On that day as well, you will get a school tour, but there will also be a virtual tour that you'll be able to watch before then as well. And you get to meet a whole host of new staff too. It is daunting, I do understand that, but we do want to make sure that you feel you can settle into the routines as quickly as possible. Now, one of the things we're also wanting you to do before you come to Prince Henry's is to complete something we call the student portfolio. Now, this portfolio works in several different ways. One of the ways it works is it's a chance for you to showcase your very best work. We want to know how capable you are. We want to know what brilliant things you've done at primary school, and this allows you to do that. We also want you to know what your skills are, what your strengths are, what type of learner you are, and what areas you think you need to develop too. All part of that becoming a more independent, mature learner. We also want to make sure that you understand some of the expectations that we have, and that's what this screen is all about. So on the very first page of your student portfolio is an attitude to learning ranking system. So you'll be able to go through that and look at what we say makes for a student who has outstanding attitude, to better than expected, down to minimum and below expected. Now again, all students are really clear about what these attitude to learning indicators are, and we use them a lot at Key Stage 3 to make sure students understand what they need to do to be the best learner they possibly can be. If we just look at that screen there up at the outstanding section, we see it says they're self-motivated, resilient and independent. All key skills to do really, really well in school life. What we'd like you to do now, though, is to rate your attitude to learning at primary school. We're also asking your teachers to do the same, but we want you to make sure that you are being honest and accurate in what you're saying. If there are areas you feel you need to improve on, think about what they would be, because it is a fresh start when you come to secondary school. You can make sure that you get the chance to undo any things that might not have been quite where they should be at Key Stage 2. There is a whole host of other things in that student portfolio. There's an English section, a maths section, a science section, something for geography, languages and history as well. There's also a little quiz section, which you can do a little bit of research on the Prince Henry's website to find out even more about the school. And there is also at the very end, there's a postcard. Now, we would like you to complete that postcard and it will be given to your form tutor so they can get to know all about you. They will get to know what your hobbies are, what your favourite things about primary school are, what things that you're most looking forward to about secondary school are as well. And that will help when it comes to getting to know you, but also making you a really cohesive form unit, which is something that we think is so, so important. Now, just before I move on to the very final slide, I'm just going to talk about the video you're going to get to watch. Now, that video, I entitle it Opportunity. It's the video that's shown at the Prince Henry's celebration evening that happens every December, where prizes are given out for students across the year for their brilliant achievements. And it shows all the different opportunities that you can get at Prince Henry's Grammar School, from the different trips that go to various parts of the world, from the different activities that we do in the local community, from the different sport groups and teams that represent the school, to the performing arts faculty as well. There are a whole host of opportunities. And the thing that I really love about that video is that there are as many Year 7s in that video as there are Year 13s. The opportunities don't wait until you're getting later into school life. So we want you to grasp those opportunities right from the off. Go along to the music groups, get along to the football or netball training. Make sure you involve yourselves in all the different things that school can give you. And I promise you, you will have wonderful experiences, but you'll also make absolutely fantastic friends as well. And that's a really important thing that we want to focus in on. I really love watching that video. I get to watch it at every primary school we go around. So normally I watch it about 30 times each year, and it never gets old or boring for me, because it makes me really proud to work at Prince Henry's, to be a teacher who's been able to work with those young people and see them flourish throughout their time at the school. I won't play it though, that's the start of it. So, as it says on screen, that's the end of my presentation. Now is a chance for questions. Now, clearly, normally, if I was in the primary school with you, there'd be a sea of hands and I'd have lots of questions to do, and it'd normally take me an hour to get through all those different questions. What we're going to do instead this time is you're going to write those questions down. You can email them to the email address on the screen, and then we will reply to them as soon as we can. There is no such thing as a silly question. We want to make sure that you know how the different processes work, what our expectations are, and what you can look forward to as well. Because if we think if we do that and do that well, you'll be really excited in September and you'll start in a really positive mindset. As it says at the bottom, we do want you to take care. We do look forward to seeing you all really soon. Throughout the course of this next half term, there'll be a whole host of different activities, videos, tours that we'll be sharing with you on the school website, but also with your primary school teachers to make sure you feel as prepared as you possibly can be for your time at secondary school. I've enjoyed having this chance to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you all in person really, really soon. Take care. Thank you.